Mary's there.
Yes, I'm here.
Bruce, are you here?
Yes, I am.
That's great. We'll try it again. Eric, are you present?
Present.
Great. Deborah?
Present.
Very good. Charlie, are you here?
Yep.
Okay. And we have one introduction. If we're on attendance, Bruce, would you like to come forth? And we have a stranger at the desk here.
Do you want to just so you mentioned this is a Zoom meeting. We're allowed to do that,
Nothing was heard then?
and we're all set.
Look, we can start all over if you want. You want that? Fine. Okay. Welcome again to the April 4th, 2022 meeting of the Yarmouth Board of Health. I'm Hillard Bosky, and this is a hybrid meeting, meaning people can come and into the town hall and sit here and participate, or if you go to the website, there are a lot of instructions of how to watch it on YouTube, or you can zoom in and to listen, participate, ask questions, and so on. How's that?
Yes. And back to your question, yes, a new member. We have our Assistant Director of Health that just started, Jay Gardner. We're welcome to have him. We've been trying to fill the position for 10 months, so it's he's doing well. He's starting to do septic plans, so we're catching up on that, and he'll be helping us with the drug education and substance abuse. He'll be serving on that committee also, and also the town and county committee.
It's great. We welcome you. It's exciting. It really is to have someone and to have your background. I really enjoyed looking at your resume. All health related things, very different, very impressive.
I appreciate those kind words. Thank you. Had a long career in municipal public health and then went on to lead several nonprofits, still staying within the discipline of public health. So
Right.
my wife and I, we live here in Yarmouth, and we're thrilled to be part of the community. So I appreciate those kind words and look forward to working with Bruce and the team.
One of the latest things was in optometry, I believe, right?
Mass Society of Optometrists, yeah, vision and eye care. You know, I spent a lot of time in public health, primary health, mental health, oral health. I never really touched upon vision health. So that was another piece. You know, in public health, every successful entity is built on a foundation of good health. And that's what's being delivered here by the department under Bruce's direction. So I look forward to being part of it.
Okay, so when you get a chance, take a look at our signage in town. If you're doing optometry, you should see how we're doing, whether people can see anything, okay?
Hello, Mr. Chairman. Thank you again.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I do believe we have one person in the public that wants to talk under public comment. I think we have a Tom Nicanello that's in the waiting room.
Okay.
I think the other people will be talking when we get to the Haas.
Yeah, in general, I would have people who would like to speak on subjects that are not on the agenda. I think I'd rather do it that way, okay? So if people have something to present tonight, please do. And we'll listen to the people first who are talking about subjects that are not on the agenda, though. So Tom is on?
Yes, he is.
Tom, good evening.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and the Board of Health. First of all, many thanks to all of you for your love and passion for our town and volunteering. It's extremely important our volunteers participate in local government and to represent our citizens. And to the director, congratulations on an assistant. As you might want to describe to him, we do have a increased size road signage process in town. What I mean by that is our street signs, some of them are small, and when they get replaced with larger print. So that's very important for our community to make sure we know where our roads are and that we can read those signs. So that's one of the comments I have. Also, the reason I'm zooming in tonight, and thank you for the opportunity, is to just talk a little bit about our drinking water, our pristine drinking water that we have. You know, we're so fortunate to be, you know, in an environment that has great drinking water. And as we all know, in our last meeting that you guys had, there was some discussion about the PFAS and how that is making a play in our wells. We have about 24 wells, 23 actually. One well has been down for about a decade now, and there's been a couple other ones that have been under the scrutiny of the new law from the state, which is what we expect to make sure our drinking water has standards and is up to the quality of drinking. So I just wanted to let everybody know next meeting with the Board of Selectmen on the 12th of April, the Water Department will be having a report out, a report out on the PFAS update. And I encourage you all to watch that broadcast. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll let you go. I know you have a busy meeting with the horse and everything. And so I'll just gallop along. Okay. Thanks so much.
Well done. Okay, thank you. Anyone else calling in?
No, that's all we have.
Okay, let's go on. Okay, second item on the agenda is a hearing, and this is at 414 Route 6A in Yarmouthport. And this has to do with the request for a horse stable permit. Mr. Murphy.
Yes, just as a little background, the applicant was before the Board of Health at their last meeting, March 21st. They're both here. They will be coming forward to present their request to have 2 horses on their property at 414 Route 6A. The question is the setback distances from the property line to the corral and stable area to the abutting houses, which we can see up on the screen here. Their property is outlined in yellow, and 100 feet to the neighbor's house. Right now, the requirement requires an engineered plan with a land surveyor be submitted with those numbers to be verified. What we have now is a plan showing that was hand-drawn on a previous plan. And I'll let the owners speak to that, but that still needs to go forward with a required land surveyor plan. The manure issue that was raised at the last meeting, they'll talk about how they've addressed that, but I did do a spot survey or walk the property last Thursday, and the large manure pile had been removed, and they did have baskets, barrels that they were removing it on. So that's the main questions we want to talk, and they are available to come forward to the table.
Bruce, just one question.
Yes.
You handed me a plan here.
Yes,
Is this the plan you're referring to?
that's the plan that they just passed to you.
Okay, so the board has not seen
The
this.
board has not seen this.
Okay. Okay,
They saw this plan with it. It didn't, it was just a quick sketch that he handed it at last meeting. Matter of fact, it may possibly, it might be in the, it was in the board packet. It just didn't have the detail on it. That was the plan we're putting up on the screen right now, Mr. Chairman.
okay.
That was in the packet, but this was what was passed in tonight, and Erica was gracious enough to get it in.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I thought I had seen, but not this. Okay. All right, so if anyone's here from that address, please come forward. And just have a seat and just introduce yourselves for the record. That's all.
Jared, this is Jen.
Into the mic though. So,
Jared,
okay,
I'm Jennifer.
okay,
This is our daughter Jocelyn.
okay. Thanks for coming in. So, here we are again.
yes.
Is it clear why you're here?
Yeah, of
To
course.
you? I
Yeah,
mean, I think to the board it is.
yes, yeah,
Okay. I mean, ultimately, this board needs to make a decision here.
right.
And so we're looking for information. So, Bruce, do you have a preference whether we have public come forward and speak, or would you prefer these in?
It's your pleasure, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so let's have some people from the community come forward then. That would be a good idea. So, once again, just introduce yourself for the record and start. Thank you all for coming in.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, the applicants and members watching from home. Excuse me, I'm Attorney David Reed, and I still continue to represent before you John and Lisa Grady, who are the owners of the property directly across the street at 415 Route 6A. You have in your file and received from me last time a letter explaining their concerns and including some plans that were available. It seems pretty clear to us that this use cannot accommodate your regulations in terms of the setbacks, not only from the property lines as are sketched in the most recent plan, but also from the adjoining residences that encircle this property. You had a discussion last time briefly about whether or not the farm code had any, a right to farm, excuse me, had any bearing on this. And I've gone back and read it again, and I can provide you with several copies of the key provisions if you'd wish. But in my opinion, it has no bearing on this at all. I think that was Bruce's conclusion last time. It clearly is intended to apply to commercial agricultural uses, not to incidental residential uses. Your regulations, I think, are the key here, and clearly provide that there has to be a 50-foot setback to the property lines within the site and a 100-foot setback to the neighboring residential buildings in all directions. And that has to be shown by an engineered plan or a surveyor's plan, which has not been done. We haven't seen the one that you've received today other than just displaying it on the screen, but it completely does not, it does not completely comply with what your requirements have. It seems to me, and I ask you to keep in mind, that your stable code, your regulations, are intended to strike a balance between a residential owner who wishes to have a stable for horses or other animals, and the neighbors who surround it in areas that are not so rural as they might have been before when we talked about horses and stables. And I think the setbacks are not just arbitrary numbers, but are important considerations for the protections of the interests of the neighbors and the rights of the neighbors. And I don't think this can conform to that. I recall the discussion last time that Mr. Murphy had several conversations with the family here before they even purchased the property, and certainly before they brought their horses in, and before they converted the garage to a stable, and before they created the paddock or stable corral area, excuse me, in the yard. And it's now been 2 years since they purchased their property, and they haven't been able to comply with those regulations. And had they done so earlier on, they probably wouldn't be in this situation tonight. And we can all sympathize with the plight that they have today looking forward. But that's not the fault of the neighbors, and that's not the fault of the board or the department. The department has done everything they can to try and help these folks. And they've simply, to use a bad expression, put the cart before the horse here. They've gone ahead and created the problem rather than trying to address the regulations in advance. And we would ask you to not overlook your own regulations, but to enforce your regulations for the protection of the town and the neighbors and other people going forward who are going to find themselves in the same situation. They're there for a reason. We ask you to abide by them and to enforce them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. A lot of people out there. Anyone else? Please, now's the time. Please come forward.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Carolyn Pickman. Once again, I thank the board for their time and attention to this matter on the suitability of horses, a stable and a corral in this neighborhood. I hope today's meeting brings us closer to resolve issues that neighbors and abutters have attempted to settle for 2 years. In considering your decision, I'm asking the board to understand our brief backstory. Like you, many of us have dedicated time in community service. We've volunteered on boards and task force. We are workers in the medical field, in the arts, and in education. We are mature, responsible adults with a commitment to the specialness of where we live. We understand how lucky we are and how important all efforts are to preserve it. We are also aware that our town has rules and regulations of how our town requires us to go about the business of remodeling, reshaping property, sanitation, health and safety issues, including disturbing the peace in regards to the people and the property around us. As abutters, we were entitled to receive notice and given a chance to respond before this disruption occurred. But we were shut out of that privilege. We have been put in a position of doing a job that took far too long to attend. Yes, we are frustrated, but we are not nasty others. We have not chosen a single family as victims of our wrath. I'm asking the board to consider who is the injured party here. And in this situation, when you make your decision on how to proceed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hi there.
I'm John Grady. I live at 415 6A, and I'm the abutter who owned horses for 15 years in another part of the state. So I don't come here opposed to horses by any means, and I think horses are wonderful, wonderful for the interest of young girls in particular. We bought them. I had a pony for my own horse, and we started out in Carlisle, Massachusetts, in a wooded site where we had 2 acres of woods and a lot of rocks and a little bit of swamp, and bought a horse and determined that this isn't the right place for the horse. So we moved farther west to Groton, Massachusetts, where we were able to get a property to have some acreage for pasturing the horses, 2 acres of pasture where we put 2 horses out for 6 months of the year. And we bought a couple hundred bales of hay for forage for them for the winter. And this was an ideal environment for horses. We didn't have any problem with odors, even though they were in a stable in the basement of an attached barn to the house. And never had a problem with neighbors, and the horses were great. But in this situation here, it's a little different in that it's a densely developed residential neighborhood. And put my glasses on here. And, you know, the abutters have experienced a lot of problems with nuisances over the past 2 years. One of them being the manure odor, which we've all talked about. I can assure you that whatever they're doing to mitigate it, it's not working. It's there today. And, you know, there were several conversations between these folks and the health director about the need for a permit. And we learned last week, what I suspected was that the permit should have come before the horse, but it didn't. The horse came before the permit. And I think this has gone on for a couple of years. And we're all very frustrated and don't want to cause any harm for these people, but we ask that the board recognize the fact that the abutters have been harmed here and ask that the permit be denied and some means of having the horses removed to a more suitable location occur. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I guess not. Okay, the floor is yours. I guess we need it. We have somebody else? No, guess not. So I guess we need an update. What's taken place in the last 2 weeks to start with?
So we brought one of the setbacks in from the paddock from our west side and moved it in. So it's, you know, complying to, you know, the setbacks, the 50 feet.
How far did you move it in?
One run,
Which is approximately,
which is like 12 feet. That's quite a bit.
so how far do you feel that you're in from that property line now?
It's like 48 feet.
Okay. Do you know what has to take place
Yeah,
for
we
this
need an
board
engineer.
to make a decision, which I said 2 weeks ago, we needed the information that goes in with an application.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, we do not have the money right now to do a plan like that. It's $2,200. We just asked the board to give us a little bit more time to make that happen.
so there's
It's
one,
tough enough as it is with everything else going on.
what else has taken place in the last 2 weeks for an update for the board?
Okay.
Anything
I
else?
don't know, what do you want to say?
The manure's
Yeah.
gone.
How you handling the manure? What's your
Get
procedures?
out once a week.
We have a trailer coming so that we can remove it with a trailer instead of the barrels.
Why don't you go through the process for people who are listening at home, the people here, the board? What exactly takes place every day then with the manure?
We scoop stalls and paddocks, put it in a wheelbarrow, put it in, then transfer it into the landscape barrels, then transfer those landscape barrels to the Howard dump where they take manure.
Okay, so, board members,
How many people in this room have actually been over and seen this, walked it?
okay.
So
Okay,
you-
just let me interrupt for a second. Okay. People who are answering questions out there cannot be heard to the public, so that's not going to work. Just to let you know that. So if people want to get up and say something, this is what we're here for. I'm happy to open things up if people want to come to the mic, but you can't ask a question because people at home cannot. It's a public meeting.
I'd still like to know how many people have actually been on the property to see what's really going on instead of standing in their house looking.
I can
think a
answer that
house-
question, Charlie. None.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
None of them
Okay.
have come onto our property, spoken to us directly, asked us questions, or even presented their concerns.
That's
before
what I
this
wanted to
meeting.
know.
Okay.
All right, so everybody that's complaining has never been there.
Been all over the phone.
We've been there for 2 years.
Yeah,
They walk
okay.
past our property,
All
they
I
stare
wanted to
down
know.
our driveway, they spy out their windows,
Yes.
they harass us, and yet they don't come in the driveway to talk to us. Although one did come in, but she wanted to buy 10 feet.
Hmm.
That was when we first purchased. We declined.
I went over there, spent a little over an hour, walked around the corrals, walked through the barn, talked to everybody, including the horses. You know, horses are kind of a neat animal. I've had them for years. They function on two emotions, fear and love. And if that horse fears you, you're going to know it. I walked up behind both those horses, which is something very not recommended, okay? And I actually touched them on the butt. Now, if the horse is scared, you're going to know it in a blink. Neither one of them even moved. So they feel that they're in a safe place. That's number one. I watched this young lady for that hour. Comb, shovel, feed. You know, this is something I really think is kind of neat because I bought my daughter a horse when she was 11. And the one thing that taught my daughter was accountability, responsibility. Because once you have that horse, if you don't feel like shoveling today and you don't feel like combing today and you don't feel like checking the feet, tough shit. They are gonna, you do that every day, okay? And I watched how she acted, you know, and I was impressed. You know, most kids her age are playing with their TV or their telephone, and they have no clue about an animal, a job, or any respectable thing to do. You know, video games is all they know. So when I see something like that, I'm impressed. All right. If they got the property and and when I was over there, it was cared for very well. You know, I was in the barn, everything was clean, They didn't know I was coming. All right. And I did speak to them as far as the manure. My manure for years, I didn't have a problem getting rid of it. I had a problem with the customers because they want to buy it. I couldn't make enough. You know, that was one of the greatest things for a garden there is. Instead of going down and buying it by the bag at $6.99, you know, you put a couple shovelfuls of that in your garden, you got it made. You know, so I have watched things over the years. I've had horses my whole life. You know, I've taken care of animals and people. You know, and I've watched how people act around animals. And I'll give you one story. I won't tell you who because she's on the legislature. But this lady came into my yard one day in a BMW in a three-piece white suit. And she beeped and drove by my garage and went up back. And I washed my hands a few minutes later and I decided, well, okay, what's going on? So I walked up back. And there's this lady in a white three-piece suit. And all she'd taken off was her high heels. And she's still got her pantyhose on and all the stuff, and she's in my corral shoveling manure. And I said, what are you doing? She said, Chuck, the hell out of here. She says, I've been looking forward to this for the last 2 days. She says, leave me alone, I'm gonna have some fun. And so I did. And over the years that I've had those animals, more people have come in my yards and been impressed by being able to come up to a horse and actually touch it. I used to ride every Sunday to the senior center over there. All right. I went over one Sunday. 2 ladies there. One's rehabbing. She's just getting ready to get out, and her sister's there. Both of them 82 years old. All right. So, and they came out. They wanted to see the horse. They love this. I said, okay. So I'm talking to her for a minute, and one of the ladies says to me, my whole life, I wanted to ride a horse, and I never got the chance. And I looked at her and I said, are you serious? And she said, yeah. So me and her sister helped her up to the saddle on a 17.5 hands high horse. I walked her around the parking lot. She was bawling her eyes out. She got off that animal and she couldn't thank me enough. I'll tell you a thing about horses. They're one of the greatest things in the world to be around. And they understand us a lot more than you think. You know, I wouldn't trade them for the world. My daughter today is 37. For 16 years, we rode Sundays, every Sunday down at the club, and she had a ball, and it taught her responsibility. I wouldn't trade it for the world, you know. So I see what went on over there when I was there. I'm impressed. That's all I can tell you.
Okay, thanks, Charlie. There are a couple people who signaled they want to come up, so please do so. Absolutely.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to go next?
Let me just say a couple of just comments. So, Mr. Hallway, Chuck, the first thing you said.
Sir, just your name.
My name
please.
is Fred Schilb, and I'm a butter to this property.
Okay, thank you.
The first thing you started saying was, how many people have walked this property, have been on this property? And your response, rhetorical question, you answer it, nobody has, right? The first thing I did when I met these, I walked over on the property and met them and introduced myself.
Okay.
As we were trying to figure out what they were doing because they had backhoes and everything else going on to their property. So I talked to them. For the most part, I was talking about their clearing of the trees on the property. They cleared that whole property.
I didn't see it cleaned.
I don't think you saw it, Forrest. That was all trees and bush.
Yeah.
That was, now it's an open field. That
But
was
it isn't an
all,
open field.
I
there are
can
8
show
or
you
10 trees
photographs
in the
of what it
corrals.
looked like before. It was not open whatsoever. They knocked all of it down and cut all of it down to provide this ability to have the horses. I think nobody walked on the property. I thought that we would probably have a chance, let's say with Old Kings Highway, which this house is in Old Kings Highway, of finding out, what was going to happen in this, but there was no hearing about it. The abutters never had an opportunity. I don't think there was any opportunity given by the town. I don't think there has been a permit for anything that's happened in the house, for any work that's been done on the property, for what's going on with the horses. So I don't think there's been an opportunity for people to do that. I don't know if other people in the neighborhood have talked, but I certainly did when I first went there. People, horses are wonderful. We all most of us all love animals. I have a dog in the car who is border collie and a fantastic dog and smart and does everything and is a wonderful animal to be around. We all love animals. I love horses. I have no problem with horses. But it's where they are and what, how a horse has to be brought, live. That is the problem in terms of being on that property. Secondly, I don't know, have you been around young people?
A whole bunch.
Recently?
Yeah.
So I have a couple of grandchildren here and a couple in California. They all have jobs. They're teenagers. They have jobs. They have sports programs. They're in community programs. But the only thing about the last 2 years has been, they've been in the house. They have been on virtual lives, unfortunately. So I don't think you can make those kind of comments that are not really proven. So that's fine.
Can I comment to the beginning of his speech?
Let's have this gentleman first, okay? Then
Thank you, David Reed again. Mr. Holloway, I think you point out some very good points. No one here is disputing, at least not my clients or these neighbors that I've heard from tonight. No one's questioning whether having a horse or horses can be a good thing. No one's questioning whether the responsibility of caring for a pet or a horse is a good life experience. No one's even questioning whether or not people in Yarmouth can have horses at their house. The only question before you tonight is under your regulations, where those horses should be and where the accessory structures that go along with having horses can be. And we're not asking to take anything away from this family and their right to have horses. All we're asking you to do is enforce your rules on where they can be.
okay, thank you. Why don't you go ahead?
I can? Okay,
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. To the beginning of Joel talking about how we have cleared our land. We did not purchase our 1.3 acres to provide conservation for our abutting neighbors to enjoy. We bought it so that we could have our land, not land for them. We pay the property tax.
Yep.
We deserve to enjoy our property and do what we please on that property without their permission.
Yep.
I don't tell them what to do in their yards. I don't appreciate them dictating that I can't have a corral or take down trees or clear the neglected overgrowth of years that property withstood. And it has taken us 2 years to unbury ourselves from the mess that was there. It was dilapidated and it looked like hell. And what we have done has made a huge improvement. It's a win-win. They get the ivy's gone, the rotted fences are gone. The driveway's not overgrown with ivy. There isn't bittersweet up trees choking them and killing them with the dead tops and having it land on their property. We have done nothing but positive things on our property.
Okay, thank you. Just remind everyone what the issue is. Okay, to stay on target, dealing with the property in respect to setbacks and locations of the corral and the stable and so on. Really, it's not about deciding to take trees down. That's not what we're here for tonight. So I appreciate what you're saying, though, for sure. Okay, board members, now's the time to speak up and let's get this going.
I still have a question on where, since we still don't have a plot plan, I'm still not clear on where everything is and what the current setbacks are. Did you say you put something up on the screen? Because I didn't see that.
That's not, you can't see that from home. Okay, so once again, we don't have the information we need for the discussion.
The plan,
This is what I have. You just handed this to
Yes,
me,
and-
right? So this
yes,
has not
and-
been reviewed.
correct,
I know there's an issue. It's not an official survey, right?
correct.
Part of the problem. In addition, they just got here, so the board hasn't even had a chance to look at what it is or isn't. Does that answer your question, Deborah? I don't know.
Yes, I think it does. I mean, it sounds to me like we still don't have a complete permit. I'm certainly sympathetic to what every single person has said, but I'm sort of focused on the fact that we're reviewing an application and it's incomplete.
That's my understanding too. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else, Deborah?
That's all I have.
Charlie, anything else? Eric, Mary?
You're telling me that that plan isn't sufficient, correct?
Does not have a land surveyor stamp on it. And it doesn't show the distances to the neighbor's house.
We can't provide that without trespassing.
We need,
From the corner of our barn to the east neighbor.
I imagine there are logistical things that could be done to measure distances, can be done probably without going on the property. I would assume these days. It can be done in a room if you're deciding to paint a wall and all. So I imagine that a surveyor could probably figure that out. Whether it's just discussing with neighbors or whatever, but I don't think that's getting in the way of this. Board members, I need some information, feelings. What do you want to do here? Okay, people have expressed a lot of feelings. We've learned some things, but we need to move on this. I mean, we have a responsibility here, and that is to the town. We're volunteers, and there's a set of regulations, and it's our job to abide by them.
At this time, I think since we have an incomplete permit, I wouldn't approve it.
Okay.
Well,
And, this is, I'm only one member of this board. I happen to be the one talking, and only because I'm the chair right now, but when you make a decision, how do you want to proceed? The number of options here.
Well, the gentleman said that it would take him, how long would it take him to be able to get a plot plan so we could have a complete permit?
He didn't say, there was no date or anything like that.
probably take a couple of weeks.
Unfortunately, that doesn't really seem like money well spent, because I think at this point, it's common knowledge that the setbacks will not be met. While that, while having a surveyor there and a surveyed plot plan would be required in order to process the application, I mean, I feel pretty safe knowing, saying that it's not, we know it's not going to change the distances. And we know right now that it doesn't meet the appropriate setbacks. The landowner just stated that after moving the corral, it's now at 48 feet setback on the west side. Is that correct?
That's what the gentleman said, yes.
Okay, and what does the setback require? 50 feet? I'm not, I don't mean to nitpick here on the west side of the property, but that's the west side, and we know on the east side that there's an issue with the proximity of the house on the east side.
Right, just for people listening. So if you're facing the house, it would be the right side. That's the property line you're referring to. Is that correct, Eric?
Yes, it is. So I can appreciate the fact that it's very expensive to hire a surveyor, but at this point, it doesn't seem like it would even be money well spent. I'm a huge advocate for farming. I've been farming my whole life. I appreciate what keeping animals does for young people and for anyone who has, but the issue here is that the property doesn't meet the setbacks that are outlined in our regulation, and unfortunately, the property owners haven't been proactive in securing the permit. So I don't see any choice other than to.
Eric, I didn't hear the last sentence.
I'm just saying, I don't see a choice of granting a permit. I don't think it would be fair to anybody.
Okay.
That's the regulation, unfortunately. Fortunately or unfortunately, that's
Right.
Mary, you're muted.
I'm sorry. I agree, Eric. You've made some very good points. It's an unfortunate situation, but I also think that spending that much money to have a plot plan and make the application complete would be a waste of money for the folks that are dealing with the horses, because we already know that those lines are not according to the regulation.
No, Eric, I mean, that was a good point. Having been over there, the distance on the east side it's very tight between the former garage or barn there and the property line on the right is very short. And I didn't take a tape measure out, but it seemed very close. And so the point here is that it may not be worth spending the money on a survey if it's not going to really meet the setbacks. I don't know for a fact, but the only way whether the barn has to be moved, I don't know. But right now, I'd be very surprised if that setback is met where the current corral and the stable are located. So.
The stalls are located on the west side of the barn.
Yes,
We have a garage on the east side of our barn.
yes, I was
So
there.
it would be a measurement from the west corner
Correct.
where the horses are inside
Yes,
to the neighbor's house.
yes.
I believe I am 75 feet corner to corner to my house on my own property. She is in another parcel. I'm sure we're further away from her.
We don't know that.
Right.
I'm just saying, looking at it, I mean, we'd be guessing. It really would it be the east corner of the stable, which is partway through that building
The
to the
west
property
corner.
line?
It would be the west corner of the stable.
Let me go. Yes, I think, I know it's expensive to get a plan, even though it's required, but I think the plan would fine tune what variances that you would need if you're short by 2 feet. That's something the board could consider. Because I believe you could probably meet the variances, the setbacks to the rear of the property line and maybe the back off the riding corral area. So it might not be the whole area that you need, that you're shot from on the property line.
Right.
And it might only be one neighbor's house that you're close to. But I think without exact measurements, it's hard for the board to make that decision whether they should grant a variance or not, and how much of a variance to be granted, if that's something the board would want to consider. Right now, it's just a rough sketch that you're giving them. You think you're this far, they think you're this far. They've looked at Google Maps. Everybody's kind of come up with something, but until there's a definitive plan that's required, yes, it's going to be spending money. Yes, we know you're going to be short on some areas, but I think that's at the point of, does the board grant variances or not? And I guess that's the decision that you need to make going forward. I'm sorry, Charlie.
Well, how can I sit here and tell them that they're short on anything when you tell me that plan doesn't work? All right? I mean, you're telling me you can't go by that plan.
The plan that was passed in tonight's not to scale.
I understand.
And he just noted that in his measurement, it was, 48 feet. And that was only a measurement. The whole full board doesn't have it.
Yeah.
So they need to look at it, but, it's just his measurement. It's not a professional measurement, so. And that's
Okay,
only to a
well,
couple of the sides.
I can't tell them they're
It's
short.
yeah, it's a lot, the lot as we have up on the screen, it's kind of like a dog-shaped lot, dog leg left. So, it's not a total rectangular, so they do have some room in back.
Yeah.
That's not where the problem is. It's the east side of the property, I think, is the one that is the problem. And that's where a fixed structure is right now, where the old barn garage was located. Yeah, I mean, we're positioned, we can't make a judgment here. I mean, we don't have the information. The application is
How many
feet
incomplete.
is he short right there? You're telling me by the garage. How many?
I'm not
feet?
going to tell you how long, because I don't know.
We don't know.
The plans haven't been
Okay, so I
presented.
can't make a decision.
Right.
Right, we can't grant, I mean, right? How can you grant something? You don't know what you're dealing with, Charlie. We have regulations, we're supposed to follow them. That's all we're here for. It requires information, an application. I mean, anytime you're applying for something, it needs a piece of paper with information on it, and we haven't received it.
I believe you went to Moran Engineering to do some limited survey. I don't know if they just staked the property or did they do a property line?
They
Plan.
found all the pins because I didn't know where all of them were.
All the corners?
Yep, and they did all along the sides for, and now they're pretty much, most of them are gone because they were pulled out, so. But that's beside the point. All I just asked the board to give us a couple of weeks to get the engineer out to do those proper measurements.
Sure.
You're saying two things. You're asking for more time, and you're also saying you can't afford it. So
I said I couldn't afford it.
that's the message that I received. Unless I'm off, but I believe that's what you inferred,
Yeah.
which I can understand. It is very expensive.
Yeah,
And
so
one of the board members commented on it.
happen.
I'm sorry?
It's gonna have to happen. And I'll make it happen.
Well, it hasn't to date. And this has been going on for a long time. It's not just, it didn't start 2 weeks ago when you came in front of this board. This has been going on for months.
Okay.
Correct?
And we've been making the best foot forward for this.
I'm not questioning that. All I can respond to is what's been presented for an application. We don't have a completed application here, so.
It hasn't been easy to provide any of it, to be honest with you, with COVID and buildings being closed and, vet not being available unless it was an emergency,
I understand.
vaccinations, those sort of things that were required in the beginning. They all took time. They are healthy horses. They are on a good diet.
Oh, yeah.
No one's questioning your ability to take care of the animals.
Right.
I mean, it sounds like you do a great
Didn't
job.
just throw a paddock up without measuring. And we've taken part of one side in, We have measured it with the tools that we have.
We have certain standards, regulations in town. We're not creating something or making something. We're just following something that exists. I'm not sure how the pandemic would interfere with it over a year and a half for what's needed.
Excuse me.
It can, from a financial standpoint,
Thank you very much for your time.
How long will it take you to get a plan that's acceptable? I guess is the best thing, just way to put it.
Like Jared said, we need a couple more weeks.
Okay,
The next,
Don't
the
have-
next, the next board meeting probably would not be to May 2nd.
okay,
Next one, it would have been the 18th, but that's a holiday.
all right,
So that would give almost 4 weeks.
okay. What's wrong with that? Can I make a motion?
any of us can make a motion.
Okay, I make a motion to
Oh.
wait till the next meeting to make a decision on this, and they can come in with the proper paperwork and we can take care of this.
All right, is there,
I'm not gonna tear the whole world apart to wait another couple of weeks. I got no problem. That,
okay, and is there a second to that motion?
What date? What did we say? What's the date?
It's first week in May, isn't it?
Second, May
2nd. The next meeting, unless something urgent came up, is May 2nd, is our next Board of Health meeting.
I mean, I don't feel like I can make an informed opinion without that information. So I'll second the motion.
Okay, any further discussion?
I'd like to understand what happens if the plan is not produced by the next meeting, because we're putting in this is a conditional statement. We're requesting the plot plan. So I think they're just, in order to understand the motion, what is going to happen if the plan isn't produced?
Well, we can, I guess, vote on the motion is made. If someone want to make a second motion, you can. It sounds like you're not prepared to vote for it, the way it's sounding, Eric. I understand what your point, unless we're going to amend that motion.
Well, I'm just saying we did this at the last meeting.
Yes,
We granted 1 week to produce the plot plan. They actually had 2 weeks between the last meeting and this meeting. So we're finding ourselves in the same situation. I suppose we can just deal with it at the next meeting, but I just want to understand if should be like a follow-up to this statement to say, you have to produce this document, or what happens then? You're then ineligible for the permit?
okay. Just think the easiest way to do this. We're still in discussion phase here before a vote. You could retract the motion if you wanted to do that, I suppose, or we can vote on that, on the motion, and then someone can make another motion, or we can amend the present one. Those, I think, are the options.
Mary, I think you're muted.
Mary, are you trying to say something? Looks, you're still on mute. Now I think you're still on mute. There you are.
Okay,
Great.
I got unmuted. Okay, I think we should vote on Charlie's motion and then bring up another motion if it's appropriate.
Okay, that's the way I'm inclined also. So we'll vote on the present one, and we'll go person by person, whether they're voting for or against. Mary?
Or, aye.
Aye. Eric?
Nay.
Deborah?
Aye.
Charlie?
Aye.
It'll be nay, so the motion passes 3-2. Okay. So someone want to make another motion here?
I make a motion that if the folks do not have a complete permit by the next meeting, that the application is denied.
Mary, just state that again. You said you said permit. I'm not sure that's what you meant to say.
If the application for the permit is not complete, including with the surveyor's plot plan showing the distances from the abutting properties, then the permit application will be denied as being incomplete.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any more discussion?
Discussion. So if they have a complete application, okay, never mind.
So at that point, I think that's when we have a full application, then we can discuss whether or not we're going to approve the permit.
Okay, understood.
Right. But we won't continue to postpone our action.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I don't know enough about it, and until I see a plot plan with the setbacks and then look at the regulation, I can't make a decision. That would be fair to, to everybody.
Right. The only point I need to make is if this application cannot arrive 3 days before the meeting. If an completed application is coming in, this board needs to review it in detail, including the plans. I know last meeting, I was handed some things right before the meeting. I didn't get a chance to review it. And the same tonight. So just for the record, Bruce, what would be a reasonable deadline for the materials to be submitted?
Wednesday prior to the meeting. So that would put it at April 28th.
April 28th. Okay, Mary, you're pretty good at this. Can you add that to your
Because the packet
motion?
goes out to the board.
Yes, I'm amending the motion to state that the complete application has to be into the health department by April 28th, so it can be distributed to the board in time for its consideration at the May meeting.
I'll second that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, any other discussion? If not, let's vote on this. Okay. Charlie, for or against?
I don't know. I think I'll wait till then to find out, but so that would put me against, right?
Against, okay. Deborah, are you for?
I am for.
Aye, okay, aye. Mary?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
I'm aye, so it's 4-1, the motion passes. Now, most importantly, you understand what we just did. I just want to make sure you're not leaving here and not fully understanding what just took place and what your responsibility is in this matter.
To provide you with a full, complete permit request.
Yeah, the full application and the requirement which we discussed.
Requirement having the dimensions that you're requiring.
Right.
Yes.
Those plans will need to include distances from the buildings on abutting properties for the board to make a decision what to do here. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, everyone, for coming and participating. It's helpful to have input from the community. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You fed the cat, right?
We are Master Chief. My God invented guns.
Okay. Thank you for your patience, everyone. Let's go to number 3 here on the agenda. This is it's another hearing. This is an expired retail food and tobacco licenses. J Mart 1282 Route 28 South Yarmouth. This is for a vote. Director Murphy, are we talking about one license or 2 licenses? There's food and there's tobacco.
2 licenses.
2 different licenses.
Yes.
For tonight.
The,
Okay, so you listed loss of tobacco permit violation and there's a request for reinstallation of permit. That's what's listed.
yes. The owner is present if you wish to have him come forward.
Okay, oh, that's great. Good. So we're addressing both licenses tonight? or one?
Well, the food license was late and that was paid for. The tobacco license, they came in, that was late, but there's a tobacco cap. So when they're late, they lose their license because they did not come in within the required 30 days grace period from December to January.
Right.
We did call them to come in to renew it. They did not come in, so the tobacco license is not renewable.
Right, okay. All right, if someone's here from that business, that'd be great. Would you come forward and just introduce yourselves?
Jay Imad, owner of the location, J Mart Gas Inc. This is Barbara, the bookkeeper.
Barbara Hanson.
Okay. All right. I assume you know why you're here? Is there any explanation you'd like to
Well, it's kinda
provide or
explain-
tell us
Yeah,
why?
So I've been working for Jay since 2015. And my responsibility is to pay all his bills and do all his bookkeeping, make sure all the licenses are compliant and current. And he owns several businesses, so there are a lot of licenses. So historically, we've always gotten the license renewal in the mail. And for some reason, I did not get it this year, whether the USPS did not deliver it, I don't know why. I just did not get it. Every year when I get the licenses, I always do a follow-up to make sure they're all compliant. And he's got 5 gas stations. So I personally will drive around to make sure they're all current. I have never not had one renew. So I wasn't really looking that this expired, like it never dawned on me. It wasn't until the beginning of February that I drove around and was following up with everything, and I noticed that it wasn't renewed because it was still on the board for the old one. So I went back to my office and looked into it and contacted the health department immediately that, did you send out applications? Because I just hadn't received one. And what's his name?
Lisa,
I'm sorry? No,
Bruce.
no, it wasn't Bruce.
Bill.
Bill, thank you. Bill called to make matters worse. I have my own office. I have my own business, actually. We had a new phone system installed, and it's an internet-based phone system. And for some reason, for a 2-week span, we weren't getting the calls. And we had 2 people come in and tell us that your phone's not working. So we did get it fixed. But in the meantime, he was right during that time that he had called that landline. Normally, when I send out emails, I always say, call my cell phone. I didn't do it that way because I didn't think anything of it. When my original email was, did you send out applications? It wasn't, I just didn't think anything of it. And anyways, long story short, time goes on, I'm following up. I didn't know about the cap, like that it was, I just figured I'd go right down there and take care of it, but it was too late.
was an honest mistake. I mean.
It was a
it's not-
truly honest
it's not
mistake.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we're up to date on all our licenses, on all the stations, and this one just slipped through, couldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, we made an effort. She emailed, why you guys send the applications, and then got crossed with the phone line wasn't broken. And
You said something was on the board that you noticed. What were you referring to?
When I go
Last
around to
year,
all-
last year's,
All their licenses are displayed
Sure.
in each location on
Hopefully, yeah.
on the board. So I go around personally just to make sure that everyone, because sometimes they'll get mailed to the location. Sometimes they get mailed to the main mailing address, which is at 381 Camp Street in West Yarmouth. That's where most of the mail goes, but some licenses do get mailed to some of the locations directly. So I make sure I make the rounds to check, and I do this periodically throughout the years because not all of them renew for December 31st, and make sure that they're all current. So when I saw that one, I had the manager, this station manager, climb up and take it down for me. And that's when I followed up with it, then when I saw it in person, because I always have the applications. I send them in immediately when I get them, because I know sometimes they take a while. I always follow up with it. I scan them, I keep them taped to my wall. And I mean, there's a lot of them, there's a lot of them at the end of the year. And I just never got that application in the mail.
tobacco, is it always the 31st, the end of the year?
Yes, it's all
Same.
all the license end December 31st. It
Tobacco.
was mailed out. We did not receive any return mail. Phil did a follow-up phone call to remind him, left a message. If they were checking all their licenses, they probably should have checked them January 1st to make sure they were current, not, I don't know how long afterwards you drove around, but all the licenses always expire December 31st
Right.
every year. So it's their responsibility. We did do a reminder, and the board built in a 30-day grace period within the regulation, which was not complied with also.
Yeah, no, Phil goes out of his way contacting people, I know. So board members, questions?
Has this business been late before?
no,
No.
no.
Not on tobacco. I'm not sure on the other ones. I don't believe so.
And they've been in business for 22 years.
We,
The bookkeeper, I noticed in your letter, you said that you are now set up a spreadsheet. So you're not just going to rely on what's on your wall and
Yes, each.
driving around.
Each location will have its own spreadsheet with all the renewals, and I'll have a master one, and I will make sure that I work with each of the station managers, so we not only have one of us doing it, but two of us looking at it to make sure that there's nothing missed.
just to remind the board members, the regulation was updated 2018, correct?
Yeah, correct.
That
The
was-
tobacco cap
Was it?
was effective June 18, correct? And it went into effect for the next license period, which would have been 2019.
Right, so we're into the fourth year of it.
So let me understand this. Yeah, you're telling me that after the grace period, you can't issue another license? Is that what you-
After the grace period, they did not apply for the license until 2 months after that. They just did not comply with submitting a license as required. And the board has a tobacco regulation that says if you do not renew your tobacco license, there's a cap and it will not be reissued.
So you're basically telling them they're out of business. Is that what you're saying?
They also run other items within their retail store. It's a gas station, it's a retail store, lottery, tobacco is one of them. People need to pay attention. All the other retailers in town renewed and appropriate time. And when we had the hearings back in 18, we specifically invited all the retailers in as part of the hearings and told them the seriousness of renewing their license and getting in and on time.
Did Mr. Ahmad attend that hearing?
No. I mean, it's an honest mistake. Obviously, you know, I want to be in business. I'm a small business owner. It's an honest mistake. I've been in business for 22 years. I always renewed it. Obviously, I don't want to hurt my business. You know, I would have renewed it if it's an honest mistake. So we're just asking for forgiveness, for a break, first time.
One time.
And if it happens again, take it away. I mean, with all this, what's going on with COVID and everything, we're losing money left and right. I mean, we can't afford to lose one more, license.
Were you aware, Mr. Ahmad, of the cap in place?
No.
The reducing cap?
Trust me, if I known, I wouldn't be here. No. First time we hear about it when Barbara came to try to apply for it, to reinstate it, to pay for it. I mean, I own three businesses in town: the Mobile One Express, Yarmouth Save On, and J Mart, and then everybody knows us in town. I mean, we try to help people here.
When did they come in to try to apply for the permit again?
Well, they didn't come in to try to renew the permit. We had to send them a letter of violation.
And they didn't come in until after they got the letter?
Correct.
Okay.
How soon after the letter did they come in?
Right away.
Well, I had sent 2 emails. I sent an email, I think it was like the very, very beginning of February. And that was when Phil had called, I guess, that I didn't get that message. And then I did another follow-up. And once again, the whole time, like for the past 7 years, renewing, I probably renewed 300 licenses and permits for him, minimum probably. There's always follow-up. There's many times that I send in the applications, the checks get cashed. 3 months later, I don't have the license or permit yet. I hadn't received it. I follow up, until I make sure I get them all the time. This case, I just did not get the application. So I didn't know to follow up because it wasn't in my face. And it will be now because I will create my own spreadsheet. I have my own spreadsheet started to put right on the wall and just follow up, besides reminders that this is coming up, don't forget, and checklist. I did send another email, a follow-up email, because I hadn't heard via email, via phone. And at that point was when Phil went right out to J-Mart and basically said they had to pull the cigarettes off the shelf. So it was after the second email. He was at J-Mart and then he called my cell phone then because the manager did have my cell phone. My landline was working at the time, so he would have reached me either way. And since then, I also have it that the landline where it's internet based, I have it ring on my cell phone, so I won't miss any phone call no matter what. So I feel like I've done everything I possibly can to remedy this to date. And I just plead with you to give one time exception to this. And we will do everything in our power to make sure this does not happen again for any of his locations.
Mhm.
Just board members, just keep in mind that, we need to deal with cases the same way that are relevant to this, that's all. And what the track record is for us and just what people have been late, what we have done. And the number of years that, have gone by since any changes to regulations. It's all, keep that in mind. There certainly have been issues with people late with licenses and permits, not just dealing with tobacco, it could be toxic materials, Well, it's pretty quiet tonight.
I mean, it sounds to me like that it was just a convergence of missteps between communication and, I was a retail store manager for almost 30 years. And, I understand that things happen, but I also know that when I needed to get a permit to, stay open later or open earlier, before that happened, I needed to make sure that I paid attention to that. So I understand what Ms. Hanson is saying, but I also think it's the responsibility of the manager of J-Mart to keep an eye on something like that as well.
Mhm.
How long has the manager been there?
7 years.
7 years.
And I think, one of those things, it's because it's never happened, everything's always run so smoothly. And this is the first time that this has happened. So it's a huge wake-up call for all of us, including the managers. And not just one location will be affected by this, but all of them will be treated differently when it comes to all the renewals. All the managers will be retrained and so that this doesn't happen again.
So the question here, I guess, is whether to follow the regulation or not, in the sense of a decision tonight.
So it's about whether or not we would reinstate the permit.
Right.
Well, there is no license right now.
Correct.
Right. So what
According to
would we be voting on?
Good question.
So I received an email that both of them were renewed, both the food and the tobacco.
I'm sorry?
I received emails saying that they both were renewed.
No, the application, you submitted a renewal application. They were not renewed. You submitted the application late.
Okay, let's keep them separately.
Yes,
We're not talking about the food.
correct.
Correct.
We
okay.
did receive that application. We were going to process that. We
Right.
were not processing the tobacco because there has a cap that we could not process it without the Board of Health review.
Right, just so everyone understands, right now, there isn't a license, right?
For tobacco.
Tobacco.
Correct.
According to regulations right now.
Correct.
So if I'm not mistaken, would be issuing a new license.
Correct.
Okay.
Issue a new license, reinstating, I'm not sure, we don't really have wording like that in the regulations, so would this be considered a new license? It's at the same location, so it's really just, I think what we did is, the last time something like this happened, the board called it reinstatement.
Reinstatement, okay.
Mr. Chairman, could I just ask a question for my own edification on this, because I'm new to this process? Is the mailing out of an application a courtesy or a requirement?
It's been past practice.
Past practice, but there's nothing in the board's regs that you have to mail the application? Is that right?
No, I don't think there is.
believe so.
Okay, so
Right.
that's just, I know a lot of towns, because of that difficulty, it's just incumbent on the business owner
Correct,
to put that in. I didn't know if you had that in your regulation or not. So it's a courtesy.
correct.
Okay.
So I guess you'd be voting for a reinstatement, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that clarification.
I'll make a motion. Am I unmuted?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I move that we allow Mr. Ahmad's license to be reinstated But as he says, if it happens again, the license, wherever it is, whichever store is lost, is gone.
Second.
Okay. Further discussion?
A date of reinstatement,
Mhm.
a date, is that tomorrow? Is that,
Well, it's good discussion, I guess. Is there any penalty involved? In other words, you're asking for a date.
Yeah, so I was gonna say that, to amend Mary's, that I think there should be something, if we're gonna reinstate it. When was the tobacco pulled off the shelf?
Pretty recently. I told,
I think it was-
Bruce, a week ago, I told you?
what's
or-
the 22nd?
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, after the last meeting, I think I mentioned something,
Yes.
so.
It was pulled
um,
off the 22nd, after the Board of Health meeting on the 21st.
Because, there are some hefty penalties on some of the, permits and licenses that do exist. So I just thought of this only when Bruce mentioned is, a date of when the product would be able to go back on the shelf. So,
Yeah, that's why I asked about the date. I mean, I would be comfortable saying 30 days from when it was pulled. So what's that, 4/22?
Correct.
Mary,
That amendment's okay with me.
to amend that to your motion?
Yes.
That's okay. It's still second?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion?
Second it, Charlie, did you second?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Any other comments, board members? If not, let's go around the circle. Charlie, you in favor of this motion?
I beg pardon?
Is it yes or no for this
Yes.
motion? That's a yes. Okay.
Granted.
Deborah,
Yes.
Eric,
I'm a reluctant aye, only because Mr. Ahmad was not aware of the implications associated with the license lapse.
okay, Mary, yay, nay?
Maybe.
Yay.
Yay. Yay as well. Okay. So that passes. All right, the motion passes. So I think you lucked out here tonight. I'll put it quite frankly. Follow the regulations, you would not have a license back. It would be it. So I hope you appreciate the seriousness of this and what the board has offered here. So do you understand the dates involved of when the tobacco products go back on the shelf?
April 22nd. And I would just follow that, Mr. Chairman, to Jay, is just make sure that obviously you'll remember, but make sure the managers and bookkeeper, because sometimes there's people that change and people come back to us and say, we weren't aware of it. So you're aware as owner. So if anybody changes, we can let you know that. Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
very good.
Thanks.
Yeah, the health department gives a lot of notices. It's very time consuming. It's very kind,
Yep.
but not very efficient. I mean,
Some of that is self-serving. If you don't do that, we did that in Worcester, for 1,200 permits.
Right.
Because if you don't put those applications out as a reminder, they won't come back in and you're doing a lot of babysitting and hand-holding.
Yeah,
So I understand completely. I didn't know if your ordinances require that the application be.
okay. Believe it or not, we're working our way down the agenda here. Okay, the fourth item. Thank you, people out there who've been waiting for this. I appreciate your patience. This is another hearing, 3 in a row. Okay, Cape Cod Inflatable Park, that's located at 518 Route 28, West Yarmouth. We're up for a vote tonight. The two items listed here are an activity pool features, word for word, that's what it says. And the second is a bar pool projections. Looks like we have some people here.
Yeah, just give us 1 second to get this up on the board here. We want to make sure we get the right address and make sure it says the inflatable park. Eric, is he working on putting that? It'd be good to put the address and what the hearing is. Cape Cod Inflatable Park, 518 Route 28, if you can put that up on the screen.
Bruce, can you start talking a little bit, just to introduce the subject? You can speak slowly if you want.
I could. It's just that I'm sure all these people waiting at home is wondering what hearing,
we're
we're-
talking about.
what hearing we moved to. So I think I talked to him on the last one, that's why I went back there to just make sure we had the right address to the right location.
All right, just to stretch it out a little bit, we have a big game tonight, right? NCAA tonight's the
Yes,
finals.
We
ladies
need
and
to be home.
gentlemen.
We need to be home by that.
Yeah, that's my concern here. What do we have, 2 hours? What time is the game on? 9? 9-ish.
Okay, there we go. That looks fine. That is up on the screen, Erica. Thank you.
Okay, we'll
Or
skip the starting
relay
lineups
that
then on the game. Forget that. Let's go ahead then.
So I can give a little background on this before I turn it over to them. This is the Cape Cod Inflatable Park on 518 Route 28. Currently, they have a lazy river. You have the locusts up on TV now on the big screen right here. It's a lazy river. You notice it when you go by. There's also a kids water slides, little water park, little kids area. They have some inflatables also. What they're wishing to do now is add 4 more additional pools. The large one, I should probably, you got the pointer right there, Brian. You just want to, can
I
you,
just don't know which button is the pointer.
yeah, if you just, at the top little one that says red, I think has the laser on it
There we go.
that we can
Excuse me.
see at home. So just point to where the,
Just 1 second. Just introduce yourself
I'm
to the
sorry.
public, that
Sure.
who you are.
I'm Brian Meskill. I'm with Aquatic Development Group located in New York. We are the designer and the constructor of these features, the new features at this property.
Okay, and,
Joe Marama, owner of the Cape Cod Inflatable Park.
okay, great. Go ahead, thanks.
so they're proposing 4 pools. One is the wave pool right here, which is the largest one. The second one is a flow rider right here that we have permitted already. They have met the regulations. We've met with them. So we've permitted them over a week ago, and they're still working their way through their permitting process. The 2 other pools that are before us tonight is a kids, young kid activity pool with right in that area there. And then there's also a bar pool. And the reason they're with us is because the state states that no pools can have any projection within them, so nobody would swim into it or walk into it or whatever. So this is the first time that we've had an application like this. And possibly when we get to the bar one, probably the first time within Massachusetts. I think they've taken some safety precautions that you're going to hear of why they should be considered. So I think with that, I have met with the applicants before. They have a couple slides to show you. And I think especially in the kids pool, it's a 0 entrance, and it's the total depth that goes from 0 to 9 inches. So it's not really something you'd be swimming. You'd be with a parent in there. It's almost like a splash pad. And the adult pool with the bar in it, again, there'd be no swimming. They have a lifeguard. Both will have a lifeguard, but the adult pool, bar pool will have a lifeguard, and they'll also have a person checking. You have to be 21 to get into that area. So they have taken extra precautions, but that's the general overview. We do have a little bit more detail that we both can give as the presentation goes forward.
Yeah, the only question I have is we keep these 2 pools separately for
Yes.
discussion purposes, okay? I think it'll be a lot easier for people listening as well as the board here. So you can start with either one.
Yeah, we're going to start with the kiddie pool first. That's the way we'll set up the slides. And then after that, we'll do a vote before we go to the next one.
Right, both
Okay.
individually. Great.
So thank you for letting me come here today. And as Bruce has mentioned, this is the kiddie pool. We have, we have at this end of the pool, this is a 0 depth entry. So you start at your normal deck elevation, and you'd go down a gradually sloping floor into a depth of 9 and as much as 12 inches over here in the end. It is intended for children of anywhere from toddler to 6, 8 years old. The features that we're talking about are intended for that kind of age group and not your teen or, more into the adult areas. So right here at our water line and sloping in, we have a few features. We have this slide right here. We have another element here, which is what they call like a mushroom maze. It just cascades water over that people can splash and play in. We have another similar element here, which has a couple of nozzles which spray water in and the kids can interact with it, as well as another small slide here, which is in a little deeper water.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Pardon me. Is there a pointer happening? Are you pointing to this or am I just
Um,
not seeing it?
Yes, unfortunately, we're not able to point on the one at home.
Okay, I understand.
Are we able to? I don't believe we have the big arrow.
Can you see the mouse
I
out?
was gonna say, yeah, if you use the mouse, that might help. Thank you.
Can you see it? Can you
I
see it
can,
now?
yeah, the mouse. works.
Yes, yes, that's fine.
So
Thank you.
Well
a little
done.
bit of a relay. Okay, sorry about that. So in the entrance of this pool, we have a slide.
Yeah.
Which is a small kid slide. It has about a 3-foot climb to the top where the kids can then slide down into the water. We have what's called a little mushroom maze. It creates like a mushroom shaped dome about, again, 3 feet high off the ground that the kids can splash in. This one has a strange name called a split pea. Makes no sense, but it has a few sprays on it that come out of the front of it that the kids can splash in. We have yet another small slide here in a little bit of deeper water. Again, generally about the same height, 3 feet-ish that kids can slide into, just a different theme look to it. In the end of the pool over here, we have what's called the tot bounce, which is a 3-seat bouncing element that toddlers can sit in. The parents will put them in the seat itself, and they can put their feet in the water and bounce up and down while mom and dad sit on this edge here and can watch or be over there and interact with them as well. So the features that we're talking about that qualify or can be defined as projections are those 5 features, the 2 slides and these 3 elements. They are attached to the floor of the pool and they project up and out of the pool. All the features are, as kind of a safety standard, are very brightly colored. The slides themselves, and I will switch to the red slide back here is a direct example of what that slide looks like. The only difference would be the red is actually more of a blue mottled color instead of red. This is a similar slide, but not quite the exact same one. But as you can see, we are in a shallow area of the pool where your children, you cannot swim really. You can just sit and wade, splash around. The colors of which will highly contrast from the white floor. If I push this button, here we go. This is an example of the top bounce. In this particular park, it sits probably in about 12 inches of water here. I know it does say 18. This whole floor slopes across the back. It is, in this case, themed like a tree. And these yellow seats are what the toddlers would sit in and they can bounce up and down with their feet in the water. In the letter I provided, the coloring of the one for Cape Cod is going to be a dark navy blue at the bottom, which comes above the water line. So it's highly visible to the pool floor when walking in and around the area. With the lifeguard in attendance around the pool, that adds another level of safety for the participants. Our age group is young, so parents are engaged fully in this space. And the bright colors of all of the features make them highly visible. So walking and navigating through the pool, you can see everything that's going on.
You had mentioned, what are the dimensions, the longest dimensions of the pool? Just get a sense of scale.
The longest dimensions of the pool?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're on that plan, actually.
Not exact, I mean, just about what size is this pool? It's kind of what.
So from the oops, sorry, wrong button. So from the entrance here.
Yeah.
Through this area is about, I would say 50 feet. So it's almost like 50 by 50.
Okay, thank you.
What's the material of the that holds the seats that makes it bounce? What's the material?
So the seat is actually a plastic product. These are like a nylon rope so that they're smooth. They don't deteriorate in the sunlight, so that they don't create shards or anything for kids when they're holding their hands. Oops, I'm sorry. Up top here, what holds them is a stainless steel, almost like a hanger. It almost looks like a clothes hanger that everything's attached to. And then in this tube up here is a spring mechanism that's encapsulated in the tube, so nothing is touchable. You can't get your hands in there. Even as an adult, being able to reach it, you can't get your hands in it.
And what's not like, is it knotted underneath the pot, like to hold it onto the seat? Yeah, where your pointer is.
Yes. Yeah, it's a knotted system. I don't know the specific detail of that connection, but I can certainly find that out.
I'm just curious, like what I heard when you said it doesn't break down in the sun or anything like that, but I guess my question is, what kind of safety measures are in check to make sure that that knot doesn't come undone or it doesn't fray, or what's like how long do they last, I guess?
I don't know that information, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
So Bruce, in town, we do have wading pools, but none of them have any projections in them. Is that
Correct. I think we only have one pool in town that has a wading pool associated with it. And I'm not sure it still has that, where it's only a foot deep just for the little kids. But it's just a, 10 by 12 pool or something. This one here, I looked at it as more like a splash pad. Obviously, the kids going in here aren't old enough to swim, nor is there water deep enough to swim in. So I don't see it as a safety issue. I think everything has contrasting colors. I think the parents would be there with all the kids at this age group that would be using it. There is a lifeguard that would be required to be on site, and I'm sure that would probably be in the operational duties that they look at, the equipment as they do all the equipment when they, each day.
It's a big area for it to be observed and watched at, and just that it's a serious matter. I mean, little children, they drown in bathtubs. So wading pool sounds nice. And it looks a great setup is what you're presenting here. But let's not forget the seriousness of this. If you have an infant that can't roll over on themselves or get their face out of the water, and then it can be pretty awful. That's all. So it should not be taken lightly. That's all.
Besides a lifeguard, I know you have, like around the Lazy River, several people around the other pools. You have several. Is it just one planned for this one here, or because of the size of the pool?
When the SGE, who does all of Disney's, comes in early June, they actually set the plan, which now then gets sent to Bruce. So we expect somewhere probably between 30 and 35 lifeguards on duty total.
I missed the list. You said
30 to 35 lifeguards on duty.
On the property, but how many would be at this location?
It's whatever SGE would require.
Do you have a feel if that would be just one?
Looking at it and just going by other stuff, because we've already had, we have water stuff already, I feel it would be one. I think this is really very low caution. This is probably the lowest caution of,
Okay,
that we have. Yeah.
right. And what were the initial standing for? Is that a company? I didn't know what you meant.
SGE is Stargard Elite, and they do most water parks in the country. They tell you they're lifeguard. They train lifeguards,
Okay.
but they also come in and tell you where they should be.
Okay, thanks.
Do they come up to train your lifeguards each year? You want to just say what your process is for lifeguards and staff?
Yeah, they come up twice a year. Probably this year, the first week of June and third week of June, as the kids come in from the J1 kids come in to train them. But then they also come back 3 times to do audits on us, to making sure we're listening to what they're telling us to do.
Could be a challenge. I mean, hiring is an issue these days. I don't know if you're having any trouble yet, but
Not this year. The last 2 were, but this year they're all the J1s are coming back, which is what we.
But you also have some local.
We have local.
You have local
yeah.
ones and a couple from out of state that come in, and the workforce is definitely a challenge, as we know, the country in Massachusetts and the Cape.
Yeah.
And the big difficult part with it is housing the workforce.
Sure.
And in this particular case, they're available because they have a section of motel available for them.
Right.
So the park employs around 200 people total.
Board members.
We're working on a pool of housing. I'm confused.
The pool.
Okay.
And we'll do the pool separately. So this would be the first vote
Yeah.
to move forward with this.
I didn't understand how we got into housing.
Oh,
Well, just that lifeguards need to sleep at night, that's all. But board members, anything else? Okay, someone make a motion, please. Let's move it along.
Mr. Chairman? Just point of order. I'm Andrew Singer, attorney
okay.
for the applicant. Yeah,
Your name again?
Andrew Singer,
Okay.
attorney.
Sure.
Just, it's a public hearing, so I think you also have to ask for public comment, although I don't think there's anybody here.
Generally we do in the beginning, but sure, I can ask it again. Yeah, absolutely. If anybody wants to speak up,
If I missed it, I apologize.
no problem. Anyone at home? Comments?
Okay.
Okay, always open for them. Anyway, so we need a motion here. Somebody.
I move we approve. I'm sorry, I was muted. We approve the what is it, a permit, as an application? I'm not sure what it is. Just,
We're approving the plan to go forward to the state for final review. Right now, the Board of Health would approve it like the board did for areas around whirlpools that we had. Some of them didn't have the 4 foot, so we approved and it goes to the state. So once the board approves this, we would send it up to the state tomorrow and they would have 30 days to act. So we'd be looking for approval to go forward with the plan as presented.
Deborah, you okay with that?
so moved.
I second.
Approve the plan as presented.
Yes.
That's better for the minutes. Good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, poor
Yeah.
Erica. Yes, I'm
Absolutely. We're thinking of you over there.
yes, yes, I was gonna amend it to
Let's
be a
vote
little
on
bit
this already. Okay. No discussion. That's fine. Let's go around. It's an aye or a nay. Mary,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Charlie.
Aye.
Am I? That's unanimous. Fine. That passes. Good. Let's go to the second pool. Let's go.
All right. So the second pool is the bar pool. The bar pool, and I'm going to point here, is the pool itself is on this side. The bar itself is central. And there's seating on the outside of the bar. This pool, in the case of some submittal, the projections, there are 4 under review or under consideration. We have a stair here where you get into the pool. We have these benches.
Brian, can you just mention on the stairs, this is a You go up to get into this pool. This is
Yes,
it's not,
correct. The pool itself is not set flush with the deck. It actually sits above grade. The top of the wall is somewhere around the 48-inch height above the actual surrounding deck surfaces. So to get in the pool itself, you enter from here and you go up a set of stairs to the landing, and then you come down another set of stairs into the pool.
To be 4 feet up, at that point, after you've gone up those 2 sets, you're at that point 4 feet up
You're about 4 feet up, yes. 4
from
feet
the
up.
ground. Okay, I'm just looking at all the lines, look like a lot of steps, so they can't be very high then. I mean,
It's not,
that,
we have some better pictures of that also.
okay, all right, so I'm glad to hear it's 4 feet. Looking at all the steps, it looked like this thing was gonna be 12 feet, okay.
Yeah, so we come down into the pool here. There is just the one entry into the pool, and that is to control people in and out. There is going to be someone here that is making sure that everybody is of age to be in the pool. It is limited to 21 and older because of the bar. You come in, and inside the pool, we have some benches similar to a spa pool around the edge. And these circles right here denote tabletops, which are just concrete cylinders that come above the water's edge for people to congregate around. And then we have several in-water bar stools. They are permanent stools made of concrete and sit below the water line so that you can sit up along the bar's edge. Or in the case of these, you can sit up along the edge of the pool and speak to or chat with people outside of the pool. The stools and the tabletops will all be of a contrasting color to the floor. And it will go from the very top all the way to the floor. The seating, which is again similar to a spa bench, has a contrasting nosing along the front edge and the riser edge, as well as the seat edge. The stairs are the same. They will have a contrasting color on the treads and risers so that they're easily discernible in the water. As we said before, the wall of the pool, we can show, this is looking in from inside the pool, looking out. You can see right here a tabletop. In this pool, only the tabletop itself was a contrasting color. We are proposing that the entire cylinder is contrasting to the floor. You can see there's a woman seated at the bench. Depth marking, noting the depth of the water inside the pool. You can see we have a height of a wall here, which is, it looks much taller from inside than outside. The outside side is the 48 from deck, and we can show that as well. So this measurement from here to here is roughly 48 inches at its minimum. It will vary a little with the decorative rockwork carving that's going around it.
So nobody from the outside can just walk into the pool.
That's correct. We do it as like a non-climbable surface, so you can't get footholds and anything to be able to try to climb over. One of the provisions of the code for having no projections is most pools you can enter in over the side of the wall, and if you don't see what's below you that's sticking out, you could fall on it. The reason we like to elevate these pools is that we don't have people just walking across the deck and falling into the pool. This is that same pool looking from a higher advantage, looking towards your bar stools. You'll notice that these, however, were just plain white. Unfortunately, they were not painted before they filled the pool with water. They have since been painted on the top, but we are proposing here that we are going to paint from the top all the way to the floor again. As you can see, like this rock, we call them rock blobs, is a color that goes from above water line all the way to the floor line. And we'll be doing a similar coloring probably to that. This is another view looking out. You can see, get a kind of a scale of people standing in the pool and where the wall is. So it's not an easy element to climb out over as well. We use the stair as that control point.
So that wall goes all the way around,
Yes.
right? And what happens if someone in there needs emergency services? How do people get into the pool?
So the lifeguard can get in the pool by climbing up over the stair to get to that person. When in the case of emergency, you will have your attendants here who can see a person and your lifeguard over here, and you also have your control point person who is there at the pool. Those are the minimums until the report comes back from SG.
Where's the lifeguard stationed again? At the entrance of the pool or?
The security will be at the entrance of the pool.
Yeah.
The lifeguard would be probably stationed inside the pool.
What kind of gate do you have there at the stairs to enter?
Currently, there is no gate at the end of the stair.
Interesting point. Is this pool gated off within a gated area, a fenced area?
Yes,
Self-closing, self-latching door?
yes, it meets the pool code.
So I have a question. So once they enter the area, it means at that point their ID has been checked? So once they're in the pool, it's assumed everybody's over, you have to be over 21 to get in that pool? Or
Yes,
no?
correct, yes.
And so the bartenders won't be carding people. They'll have already been carded to get into the pool?
They'll have already been carded.
Yes, over here on my right.
Mind if I could ask a question? Drink containers, is it all plastic, single use? Is there any glassware at all? Any beer bottles, anything? There's nothing breakable?
It's a good question, Deborah, as how do people get in? Because obviously they're checked before they get in to make sure they're age 21. And because probably most of them are not carrying a wallet or a purse. So
Yeah, that's why I was asking. I'm like, where does the ID go? I don't know how that works.
We're selling the wallet, like thing to put the wallet in, ID at the entranceway too. So I think that's what you'll end up seeing.
people, does it go back to their room number or might be somebody that's not staying in one of the motel units?
No, it's in what I'm talking about is just, it's in retail at the entranceway of the park.
I
Yeah.
see.
A waterproof purse.
Yeah,
right?
correct.
I didn't know if it was going to be wristbands or something like that.
They'll get the wristband once they're in, but no matter what, if they come and go, we're still gonna card them from
Okay.
that.
But if they're in the pool, it's assumed they're over 21. That's I guess my question.
This would be carding the people on the other side of the area.
Right, with the people that aren't in the pool.
And what was the depth of this pool? It was 3.5 feet or so?
That's correct, 3.5 feet.
Do you know what the distance or what the height of the bar stools is?
The bar stool, when you sit on it, I'm just trying to get that picture. Gives you a seated position where you're about in 10 inches of water. I think 10 inches is the max.
Okay, so if it's 3.5 feet deep,
It's 30 inches high.
about 30 inches, okay.
So obviously this setup is improved in other states, very popular in other states.
Yeah, these pictures are from indoor water park in Pennsylvania. We have done them in Ohio. We have also done in Texas. And there's another one that's escaping me. Wisconsin. There's a bunch in Wisconsin, actually. The water park capital of the world, actually.
So the safety precautions that could you outline the safety precautions again?
So our safety precautions are 21 and over to enter the pool. We have the elevated wall around the pool, which keeps people from trying to get in on the sides. Keeps people from falling into the pool. We also have, it's a non-swimming pool, and we are positioning, I don't know if I said this before. We are positioning at the entrance here, tiles that say no swimming. There are also additional tiles around the pool edge, even though they are, on the outside of the pool that say no swimming. And the rule signage will also say no swimming. We do have lifeguard attendant here, as well as a gate check or a person at the entrance checking your ID. All of our below water items will be contrasting in color to the pool floor, to the pool finish.
Do you know how many lifeguards are typically stationed at a pool bar scenario?
We've seen it operated in a couple of different ways. We've had as many, this is not by any means a large one that I've seen yet, but this one could have as little as one, as many as two. We usually let the professionals who do the lifeguarding training completely dictate how many people they feel would want to be in there.
I would think it could be a pretty challenging job for like saving folks. People are drinking.
Sure.
So it could be very challenging, I would think.
So is the bartender going to be watching for people who have maybe had too much to drink and monitoring that and shutting people off if they've had?
Yes, and the bartenders and the security will all be first aid certified.
And there'll
So they'll be going through the same training as the lifeguards technically.
But I think and maybe Andrew, you can speak to this, tip training for all the bartenders. They have to go through, meet certain town regulations.
Yes.
Yeah, it may come down to security. The lifeguards are, these 19-year-old kids or whatever. It'd be a lot to handle some adults who are out of control. So
How do folks pay for their drinks in this kind of setup?
Mostly credit card, or I think it'll all be credit card here.
So they'll carry the credit card with their ID.
Yes.
Right.
Can they put it on a room tab?
No, not at this time.
Not at this time. No.
anything else the board needs to know before, Director Murphy?
We've looked at this setup and we feel reasonable that security measures have been taken. I think it's our first, obviously, in Yarmouth and Massachusetts. I think it's been allowed in other states. I think with the safety measures they're taking, I think it's a reasonable something for the board to consider. The stairs going in, you go up and then you go in, and whether that would be considered a safety question, if the state brought it up, the stairs could be shifted back out of the pool if needed. But right now, the layout is to put it like as seen. I think the safety measures in contrasting colors and age 21, it's not a swimming area. It's labeled not a swimming area. They'll have safety people there. It sounds like a reasonable request for the board to consider.
I hadn't thought of this, what you just mentioned about the stairs. If someone wanted to put in a pool now, it's at a hotel, those steps would have to be recessed, right? We allowed all the pre-built pools to have.
And the board did give some variances to steps that were pre-built like this.
Of course. But
And the idea
this
was that
is a
was
new
for
pool, though.
pools, so they would not swim into them. Well, this isn't really a swimming area, and you're going to have a lifeguard and a security right at the beginning. I think they're proposing it that way and would just leave that up to the state to call either way if they had a question.
So just keep that in mind, board members, if you follow that, that's all. Because We allowed all the pools that were built already from the 1950s to stay as is, just paint the, the steps. But this is a new pool, and so we're doing it differently than we would be for other pools. If someone was building a pool now.
Correct.
Right?
Did you say this would be the first one in the state?
Yes.
Yes, and the research that we did, and along with Brian, would be the first one in state. And I don't believe you saw any in New York when you looked, did you, or New England?
No, I couldn't find one in New York, my own home state. I couldn't find one.
I'm gonna say if any state would have it, it'd probably be New York.
Yeah.
And actually, I was forwarded an article that Florida is thinking of actually putting in, modifying their legislation to have the ability to do a bar pool. I don't know where they're at with it right now. It's just an article I read from Martin Aquatics.
I guess my other question, and it's not like we have any licensing authority, but how does it permitting for alcohol with a bar pool, is that different from like regular permitting?
Do you have to go to the selectman, maybe, and maybe their attorney could respond to that?
Yes, hi, Andrew Singer again. That would be part of the liquor license permitting with the selectmen. So it's part of the entire park is permitted for alcohol service.
You have to go specifically for this one, or is it included within the park?
The license would just specify the different aspects of the park, but it would be one license.
Do you need to go to them after this hearing sometime?
That is something I actually asked Joe that we're going to, there is a liquor permit for the park right now, and that is something we're going to be checking into as well.
Okay. So that would be a separate license beside the board, correct?
The liquor permit itself is a separate license from this.
Well, I know it's separate from the Board of Health, and I understand that they do serve liquor on the premises. I was just asking if there was a separate license that would need to be required for a bar pool, because it's the first in the state. So I was curious about that.
To my knowledge, the answer to that is no, I don't believe there is a separate one.
Thank you. Just tell me a little bit.
Are there handrails on the steps?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
my next question also. I'm just concerned about people leaving and maybe being somewhat
Right.
injured of what the railing looks like for when people are leaving the pool.
So what other option for stairs would there be if the stairs didn't descend into the actual pool? Bruce, I know you had mentioned something about that. I just,
There would just be slid back. So instead of going into the pool, you'd go right into the beginning of the pool.
so would there be a ramp going into the pool at the base of the?
No, you would still go up and down. You would still go up and down, but when you went down, you'd be going right into the beginning of the pool. Right now, you're going into about 5 feet out into the pool. They would just bring that back, so you step right in at the edge.
It would be an alternate to go back to what would be considered a more traditional recessed step entry.
Do you have a diagram on that? Did we include that?
We did not include a diagram of that.
That's
There still would be a step into the pool. It just wouldn't extend as far into the pool.
Right.
Exactly.
That's correct, sir.
Exactly.
So do you have the railings or not? Something we can look at?
I do, but it's back there. So that is that, and you'll see it's kind of rock work all the way up and down. That was to create a fall barrier. So when you're going up and down, you had a sidewall to contend with. You can't actually fall over the stairs. But there are handrails on both sides, both up and down. This is actually a handrail right back here in this bamboo. I did not think to bring that picture. Apologize.
Does that help you, Mary?
Yes. Thank you.
Any other questions? Anybody want to make a motion about what to do about this?
I move that we accept the plan with the addition of a gate at the pool entrance.
Just want to repeat it. You didn't hear? Yeah. Why don't you just say it again? Charlie didn't hear it.
Sure, sure. I made a motion to accept the plan so long as there's an addition of a gate at the entrance to the pool.
Okay.
Yeah, just
What is the answer?
Gate.
a gate, but
Gate.
that would be at a gate getting into this bar area, just not at the beginning where you go into the pool. But to get into this location has to have a fence around it and a gate, self-closing, self-locking gate under the building code.
I'm not sure that is what you're saying, Eric. You're saying a separate gate or not?
Okay, I guess I didn't understand the perimeter. There is a perimeter gate to keep people under 21 out of the
Yeah.
entire area.
Only people age 21 can go into this whole area, whether it's the pool area or the bar outside. Is that correct?
No, they obviously can't order drinks, but if you look directly to the north or west of it, or east, that's where the flow rider is, so they can get to that area.
Oh, I'm not following what you're saying.
All right, let's go back to,
So we'll have to go back to the first picture.
okay.
So up in here.
So people can only walk into the pool area with the security guard, but they can walk into this perimeter area
Correct, because there's
with
seating.
a fence. So
because
the
there's-
question is, should there be a gate getting into this pool?
I'm still not with you. Okay, you're pointing out, where's the perimeter gate here? That I'm having trouble figuring that out. This would be a gate to get into the whole area? And in that area is this pool and what else?
So in through here, this area right up in here is divided by this line here. By a fence so that these people are not in this same space as these people.
Okay,
But in this area is also what is called the flow rider, which is a simulated surfing experience. So that entity itself is not a 21 and older. So in this area here, people of less than 21 would be.
So they could walk over to the bar area.
I think you want
okay,
to.
this is, okay, this is confusing, okay, because the diagram is very detailed, which is great, except it's 20 feet away from us right now. I think it's kind of important to know where this gate is, what's on each side of the gate. Our concern is what? Is how old are people on which side of the fence? How easy is it to get into the area? How easy is it to get into the pool itself?
Well, the pool itself, remember, we'll have the security person at the entranceway. Into the area, under 21 can access it. As far as the pool code fence, that's more this way.
Okay.
Right there, see, right there, the fence goes the whole list along the property.
I'm missing it. Someone want to explain it to me? I mean, it's kind of important. I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay, see, there's not a gate to go into the pool where the steps are, right? There's a
No.
security guard there.
Correct.
Fine, that's easy enough.
Yeah.
So what is the next gate as we're walking back from there?
Would be the entrance of the park, which is completely, would be pool code, get it into the park.
Is there a gate that's preventing someone to get to the area where you have to be 21 and over?
No, because you can be under 21 to get to that area. You just can't go in the pool.
Okay.
But you could sit at the bar and.
You can, what's going to happen, remember, everybody that's there still has kids. This is not a single scene.
Sure.
So what happens is probably there's stools on the outside of the pool, and that's might be where the kids are eating lunch with the parent inside the pool.
It's interesting.
That is a good point, because it is a safety point on pools in general that they have self-closing, self-latching gates, so young kids can't get into the pool area. So would there need to be a gate prior to getting in, at that entrance area.
What would be the difference? Because it's the same thing as like the wave pool technically, right? If the kids can be in any pool, like if we're trying to protect them from going into the pool by pool code. I know what you're saying, but it's still a little, but I mean, we can put one up.
Go back to the bar where you can look in and see. I think you got an overview of the bar itself.
Oh, the,
Yeah, one of the photos. No. One more. There you go. So people could be sitting on the outside, on that side. Can somebody sit at a bar if they're under 21 to order food? Or do you have to be 21 to enter a bar? I don't know.
I think if they're accompanied by a parent, I think that's the rule on that.
You're not having food orders at this bar, are you? At
Yeah.
the bar itself?
Yeah.
Oh, there's food
Yeah.
orders there? Okay. It's just coming from elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So people under the age of 21 can be on the outside going between here and that other
The flow rider.
flow rider.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is what would stop somebody from going into this pool because you have a security guard checking everybody at the stairs going in,
Correct.
or a lifeguard at the entrance?
I just think it would be good to have a gate at the pool entrance because the security guard's talking to somebody and a 5-year-old kid slips behind him or something, him or her. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for something like that to happen. So it could just be an added layer of protection and insurance for you and for the
Like a,
child. That's all.
so like a small, like little,
So like,
right at the end of it, we
Like
put
that.
like a corral with a gate.
yeah, that,
The guard could actually sit at the gate as well.
Right, and it would be self-closing, so as somebody came in, obviously it would be, under the building code, you have to have the latch 4.5 feet up, but as that person goes in, then it would automatically close behind them. So you'd have like a little, I don't know, 6x8 area or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that can be done.
Are there any accommodations here for people with disabilities, physical disabilities?
Yes. We have a ADA lift right here,
Okay.
and they do make them so that they go up and over a wall like that.
I think you have a photo of it, don't you? Did we
Yeah,
keep that photo in here?
Actually, you can see
Right
it's an
there.
older model of it. It's in the back here. But it does come up and over the top of the wall and down into the water.
Thank you. Okay, why don't we start over again with someone to make a motion and maybe we can incorporate the gate into
I
it.
think it was, yeah, Eric, was that your
Eric,
motion
we
that
did-
you approved it with the subject gate, entrance gate, self-closing,
Yes.
latching?
That's where we started. You're okay with that with all, after the discussion? The motion?
Yes.
Okay, second to the motion, someone?
Second.
Okay, Charlie got that one? Okay, any other discussion? Hopefully not too much. Okay. So let's vote on it. Just say aye or nay. Aye, that's Charlie. Deborah,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
and I am aye as well, unanimous. Okay, in favor of it. So think safety, that's all I ask of you, okay? Good luck with it, all right?
Thank you very much.
Great. Okay,
So just before you leave, we move on. So you'll have to revise that plan for us that we're going to be sending up to the state. So as soon as you can make those revisions,
thanks,
send,
Bruce.
send
Yeah.
us a hard copy so we can send that up. Probably, I think you're doing it on this size plan. I think if you could also maybe add on here what all the safety precautions are. So when it goes up to the state, they can see what everything we talked about. You can show the gate area. And we'll just have to think if you want to start with the pool stairs going in at that location or just move them back.
Okay.
Okay, good. So we can talk tomorrow then.
You send that out when it comes to the board?
Yes.
Thanks. Okay. Okay, number 5 here is discussion resolution to support a
set.
wastewater treatment system vote. Okay, Director Murphy.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This is the resolution that from wastewater for the town's sewage system going through. This was at the, that's okay, Eric. You don't have to, it's probably going to be too hard to read at that low size. This was drafted by the assistant town administrator. Just with the wastewater going through being developed in town, they're looking for different boards to support wastewater. I know Mary's on that, Vice Chairman's on that committee also. The board did look at a resolution probably at their last meeting and had some additions they wanted to add to it, which have been incorporated. I also had recommended they add cyanobacteria as a reason for sewering in the area. So that has been added as one of the whereases. So we have several whereases why they should go forward with wastewater in the town. Once approved by the board, they will be going to other boards for support also between the planning board and so forth. So I believe it has been updated as the board had requested.
Thank you. So hopefully everyone looked through the packet and read it and we can vote on it.
I move that we approve the resolution to support a wastewater treatment.
Is there a second,
System.
please? Sorry, Mary. Sorry, Mary.
I think it looks great. I fully support it. Wholeheartedly second it.
Okay.
Okay, any discussion? None? Good. Okay, all in favor. Let's go for it. Let's go. Deborah,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Charlie. Aye as well. Okay, so that passes.
Good.
Unanimously. Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, well done there, everyone. Okay, this is an update here. Director Murphy, how do you want to handle this right now for an update?
This is a shorter COVID update than we have been doing in the past. So we've kind of got right to the COVID numbers have decreased, decreased dramatically. We can see as of last week, we only had 12 active cases in town. As we can remember, one time we had over 200. So we'll be going forward and see that dramatic decrease. We can see, go ahead. By month, we can see how it increased from November up to December, and where January peaked out with over 1,000 cases for the month of January. Then it dropped right down to February. And then you can look at March, we went down even further. It dropped drastically on the way down. We just kept track of the number of people by 500 increments. No rhyme or reason on age or whether they're vaccinated or boosters, but you can just kind of look at the dates where they were since when we had our first case, March 11, 2020. The overall graph from when we started on the far left, the cases had peaked out at 40 in the first wave when we had the pandemic first come into town. Then we kind of went into November, December, which was the second wave, and vaccinations were beginning, and we had 174 active cases in one day. We were monitoring. That went down, and then we had a spike up in April, May, third wave. Summer came, we thought we were doing good. Vaccinations were here, we're outside. And then towards the end of summer, September, October, we saw the fourth wave, the Delta variant, come into town or come into the country in the state. And then we hit the Omicron variants in December and spiked what we were calling the fifth wave, where we had 272 active cases at one point in town. We have gone drastically down, you've seen. And that we only had 12 cases on March 31st. The positivity rate, which is done by the Department of Public Health every Thursday that comes out, we can see that we're a little higher than last week. We're still under 5. We had moved up, I think we're at 2.7 last week, so we did have a couple more cases come in, but we're still under 5, which is really the guideline the state uses. You can see a couple other towns were higher also. We can see at the very bottom, the state, it was 1.98 and the county was 2.34. So we're a little bit ahead of the county. Cape Cod hospitalization rates, they haven't really updated since the end of February, but they had been declining. So at the end of February, we could just see between at Cape Cod Hospital, in the number of beds, we're at 4 with only 1 person in ICU. Falmouth had 7 with nobody in ICU. So that also dramatically decreased with no impact into the hospital facilities. Fully vaccinated people, we can see we're pretty much staying right at that 78%. We haven't, we've been striving to get up to 80% where several of the towns are. But the number of fully vaccinated has slowed down over the last month. Boosters, people that are getting boosters, we're at 46%, and that stayed the same over the last month. Booster shots are still available. Now people are starting to get their second booster shot, available at the local pharmacies. Cape Cod Hospital, they're still available. You can call for your appointments. And
For 50 and above, for people for their second
Yes.
booster.
yes. Good. Vaccination records, you can still go to the Massachusetts webpage and go to My Vax Record and call it up if you need it on your phone to get in anywhere, or at least be able to monitor it. So that's still available. County Health Department is still offering vaccination clinics on Wednesdays at the county facility on 6A in Barnstable, pretty much all day from 10 in the morning to 4. They do spread it out, but they can arrange it to do children's and adults at the same time. And they do take walk-ins. You can register for a time slot, or you can just walk in and get your vaccination. And they've been carrying whether it's Pfizer, Moderna, or your booster. Cape Cod Hospital, same thing. You can call them. They're Monday through Saturday, 8 to 6. So that gives you some time if you need to go on Saturday or a little later at night. And again, as I mentioned, our pharmacies in town are available, and the Stop and Shop on Long Pond Drive that has a pharmacy within the store. Testing sites, again, you can check with Cape Cod Hospital would be the best place to start with. Test kits are still available. You can still call the United States Postal Service to get your free test kits. This phone number is available. And you can also call the health department. That would be provided to you. Test kits are still being distributed at Town Hall. And the seniors, you can come in and get a free test kit. First is based on income level, or if you think that you might have been exposed to somebody, disability or homebound, or a need for a test kit, you can come right to Town Hall to pick one up, or the senior center.
The pharmacies, I believe, will have free ones for Medicare individuals. That's starting soon.
Are they starting to come out now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would call ahead, but I believe they'll be free for anyone, I guess, who qualifies as Medicare.
Okay, very good. We'll keep that up there. So Town Hall is Monday through Friday, 9 to 4. Why supplies last? We had ordered several thousand. We still have some available. It's slowed down for people coming in. Senior Center, again, Monday through Friday, 9 to 3, while supplies last. You can just go right up and pick them in at either location. If you're not feeling well, you can call for appointment, or if you're working and need to do it at a different time, we will schedule a nighttime pickup for you. And we'll just end with, that's the end of the presentation, and that's the slide where we're seeing the dramatic decrease.
Thank you. That was helpful. Director Murphy. Okay. Number 7, approval of minutes. Minutes, I thought were well done. Thank you for all that. It's a lot of work on that.
Yes.
We're in the packet. Hopefully everyone got a chance to read it. Any editing on those? Any corrections? Seeing there none. Someone make a motion, please.
I move we approve the minutes. I don't have the date in front of me, but whatever.
I'll take-
What's the date?
March 21st.
I approve the minute. I move that we approve the minutes of the March 21st Board of Health meeting.
Second.
Oh, wow. That's great, Eric. Thank you. Okay, let's vote on it. Okay, Mary,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
Charlie.
Aye.
I'm an aye. That's unanimous. Okay, the minutes passed. Great. Okay, new and old business. Director Murphy, what do you have?
Our next meeting would be Monday, May 2nd. We'll have a couple septic applications. We'll have the horse back again. There might be a couple other things pending.
Okay, can you also report back on the county tobacco control, just dealing with the synthetic?
Yes, we've still looked into
nicotine.
that and haven't got a clear answer on that
Okay,
yet, but
so-
it's on the burner.
Great. Okay, and just maybe a statement, something from the water department where I had brought up last time about what measures they've taken. We don't need a presentation.
Yeah, I see they are making a presentation to the selectmen. We did get that update at the beginning of the meeting that they're making a presentation at the selectmen meeting.
You just, yeah, no, he said that. Tom said that, I think.
Yeah,
at the
Tom
beginning of it.
said that.
But something in writing to them, just send it to the Board of Health, not what they've done, something to show what they've done. That's all. If
I'll
people-
take a look.
I just got my water bill, and with it was a notice that there was a testing problem back in July.
I was just gonna say that, Mary.
Yeah.
What year was that? Good vintage? What was it?
21.
Right.
Okay, so enough said. So yeah, tell us what they've done. That's
Follow form.
transparency would be a good thing.
Very good.
Anything else? Anyone for new or old? Okay, we made it. Number 9. Anyone want to do something about item number 9 on the agenda?
Motion.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Somebody, second. Okay, Mary, let's vote on it. Mary,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Deborah,
Aye.
Charlie. Aye, for me as well. Okay, that's it. This meeting is done. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.